So Elon Musk could very well be leaving the Trump administration sometime soon. At least from this Associated Press article, it says that he will probably leave in a few months, at least from what Trump says. Now, this could be due to the fact that apparently he had a limit on how long he could stay in his role as like a, as the head of Doge. Shit like that. Apparently, he was only supposed to stay on for quite a bit of time. But it seems like the partnership between Trump and Musk is going to go downhill in the coming, days, weeks, who knows. And it's a big result from Elon Musk flubbing the Wisconsin Supreme Court election. Now, if you don't know what happened, there was a Supreme Court election that was won by a Democrat-backed judge, a liberal judge named Susan Crawford, who beat out the Republican-backed Brad Schimmel, who was very much backed by Elon Musk. Elon Musk even went to Wisconsin for a rally where he called a bunch of protesters Soros-backed protesters, like fake protesters, which is funny because like Elon Musk and the right like to accuse George Soros of is literally what Elon Musk is doing. Like they accuse George Soros of like being this like big billionaire who is like secretly controlling the Democratic Party, and like has operatives in the party, but that's literally what Elon does. Like Elon is literally the second-hand man to the president, or at least he wants to be, and he might not anymore due to how he flubbed this election for the Republicans, because everyone has been reporting from this due to like analysts and experts on the issue looking into it. A big reason why the Republican judge lost in the first place was mostly due to Elon Musk. Now, this was a race that seemed to have been like 50-50, with some more of that 50-50 leaning on to the liberal judge. Mostly just because I don't think like a lot of Republican voters would have gone out to vote anyways, because some I think it's called low-propensity voters, the voters who don't go out to vote unless it's like a presidential election, unless it's like one of the big elections nationwide. We're probably not going to go out to vote, and that's why. But the reason why the favor tipped heavily and for the Democrat-backed candidate, Susan Crawford, is because of Elon Musk's involvement in the election and how unappealing he is. And we're going to listen to Tim Walz talk about it soon, but we're going to get back to this article right here. President Donald Trump said Thursday that Elon Musk would likely leave his administration in a few months, the clearest sign that his most powerful and disruptive advisor will be wrapping up his work inside the government. Again, this comes after the election too, and I think the election in Wisconsin was a big test for Elon, for both himself and Trump. I think Trump was looking at this to see if he should even keep Musk around, because there's always been rumors that they don't like there's been rumors that Trump doesn't like Musk. I don't think Musk doesn't like Trump. I think he likes Trump in the sense that he wants to use Trump to get more power. But you can just tell that Trump does not like Elon. He'll, fake it for the cameras, because he likes the money that Elon brings. But like, there's no way he likes him, because Elon is just such an obvious loser, and Donald Trump doesn't like losers. I mean, then again, he probably wouldn't have picked J.D. Vance to be his vice president, but Trump hasn't said nice things about J.D. Vance either. He has literally said that he does not believe that J.D. Vance is fit to be the president. And J.D. Vance is the vice president, which means if Donald Trump dies, which could be, it could be soon. And I'm not saying that as someone's going to get him. He's just old. Donald Trump is just old and not in great shape either. He could, just from natural causes. And if that happens, when it happens, J.D. Vance could be the next president. And for him to be like, yeah, this guy that I picked to be like my next up isn't good enough.
Do you view Vice President J.D. Vance as your successor, the Republican nominee in 2028?
No.
Like, it just to me, I feel like the JD Vance pick was more of a Don Jr. pick. Like, that was just something where he was just like, Don, just pick someone for me. And he was like, okay, well, how about JD Vance? And I was like, he's a bit of a loser, but whatever. Or maybe he just likes the fact that someone who called him Hitler is now his second in command and has to kiss his feet. Because that's what JD Vance did. JD Vance called him Hitler back in, I believe it was 2016. It was definitely like before he became president. Like, he called him Hitler. And then now he's a big Trump guy and has been for like the last few years. Trump told reporters aboard Air Force One that Elon is fantastic, but he has a number of companies to run. He can't stay for long. He's got to go run those companies. And that's definitely his excuse, because like, he's always had these companies. What are you talking about? Like, if you think that he should have been running these companies in the first place, why even give him a position? Musk has spearheaded the Department of Government Efficiency, which is playing a leading role in downsizing and overhauling the federal government. Trump said that work would continue within various agencies. The Republican president's comments came after a steady drumbeat of suggestions over the last week that Musk's time was limited. Musk also faced a setback Tuesday in Wisconsin, where voters rejected his choice for a state Supreme Court candidate, despite more than $21 million in personal donations in his campaign appearance over the weekend. Like, he dumped a lot of money into this, and it went to nothing because he lost by like wider margins than I think people were speculating. Like, his presence played a detriment to this, and it's going to affect his power overall in the Trump administration, because people are going to look at this and be like, oh, we shouldn't have him on our side. We shouldn't really be, we shouldn't be broadcasting him and being like, hey, this guy's with us, because he's just so unpopular. I believe his popularity dipped a huge result because of this, and has, or more or less has been, since he's really been in power. Like, it started to dip more so. I think it's been in the negatives for a while now. The White House has not disclosed any timeline for closing out Doge, and the government cost-cutting organization was never supposed to become a permanent fixture in Washington, but it could be reaching a conclusion faster than anticipated. Doge was originally intended to operate until July 4, 2026. So we're going from, oh, okay, this was a organization that was going to last like a year and a half, to it's probably going to be done in a few months. So it's not looking great for old Elon. But let's see what Tim Walz has to do. And I like what Tim Walz has been doing recently, like post-election. He hasn't been doing much. I think he's more so trying to get himself out there to show what he could have offered to the campaign if they hadn't neutered his charisma.
I'm joined now by Governor Tim Walz, who's a Democrat of Minnesota. Governor, let me just start with you. Again, we've had you on the program before. Your state has close relationships with your Canadian neighbors. I know that. And you've been sort of sidelining with some of those Canadian leadership about these sort of trade war. What the president announced is almost inconceivable. What is it?
Yeah, it's idiotic.
Folks in your state, what is it?
This obviously gets into the tariffs. And I mean, the tariffs are fucking idiotic too, and they happen, like, the announcements for the tariffs came like right after this with his like Liberation Day, and you know, I can't speak on much when it comes to the tariffs. I mean, I think it speaks for itself just with like what so many people have been seeing. It's a terrible thing going on. Maybe it will even play into a part with Elon. Maybe like this will all kind of go away because of that, because most people have been focused very much on the tariffs for good reasons. I mean, it plays a much bigger role into everyone's everyday life than this does. But like, honestly, it's just something that I feel like I probably wouldn't give great coverage on. It's something that I feel like if you want to, like, there's a bunch of people with, you know, similar worldviews to mine that if you want to go, you know, hear what they had to say on the tariffs, I would definitely recommend it. People like Majority Report, Hassan, people like that, they will probably give you better coverage. It's not something I'm well equipped to talk about, so that's why I'm mostly focusing on this. But like, again, I don't think you had to be that well knowledge to realize that shit is going to suck because of it. It's a terrible idea. The tariffs are incredibly stupid, especially when, you know, the whole goal that Donald Trump says like the end goal that Donald Trump says is supposed to happen because of the tariffs is that, the economy in the US will boom, we'll get more jobs because we'll be taking it away from foreign countries, yada, yada, yada. He doesn't have a plan to actually achieve that end goal, though, except for the tariffs. Like, he put those tariffs in place, but did not come up with a plan of what to do after those tariffs, which you need to do if you're going to do that. Like, he's not having his administration spend money to, like, reopen factories and get more people jobs. People are still experiencing layoffs, and unless they come up with a plan to fix that, it's just going to continue, and eventually, unemployment is just going to skyrocket, and it's just going to be, another Great Depression. But let's get back to this.
What's your perspective on it?
Yeah, well, good evening, Chris. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think here in a week or so, I'm going to be up in Toronto meeting with some of the premiers as we talk about this. Look, they are our largest trading partner, followed by Mexico. These are folks that we have had relationships since the founding of Minnesota. It matters greatly. And what we understand is that these are fair trade deals that were negotiated fairly. And the real irony of this is the folks who supported Donald Trump, some of the working folks, the farmers, the miners in northern Minnesota, 650 miners were just laid off in taconite mining. Our farm community is on pins and needles because of these tariffs. And then when you go to war with Canada, whether it's energy or whether it's potash for fertilizer, these are fundamental inputs that are going to already drive up costs on very narrow margins. So yeah, it is almost inconceivable. Look, Chris, I don't know. You almost have to be an amateur psychologist on this. It's like Trump is stuck in the 80s. His music, his clothing, his thinking. He has been on this tariff thing forever, and every economist, conservative or liberal, will tell you they just simply don't work. We use them strategically, but he doesn't fundamentally understand how trade works. It goes back to what I continue to say. I think the biggest myth perpetuated on this country is that Donald Trump...
Yeah, and I believe, I don't know if it's speculation or if it's true, but some people are speculating that they used AI to even come up with some of these like tariffs. In terms of the percentage for each region. Apparently there are even tariffs for regions that don't even have like anything exported, doesn't even have like recorded human civilizations. Like something where there's no no human settlements in the area we're putting tariffs on. So it's just willy-nilly. There's no actual plan to this. And you can just tell that from the execution. It's just like it's like they spun a wheel. And just whatever the wheel landed on, that was the percentage of tariffs they were going to put on a specific region. Like, that's it. There's no plan. It's just just shove the tariffs in there.
Understands anything about business. He's bankrupt every single one he's been into, and now he's bankrupting this country. So I appreciate you talking about this. This is a tax on working people that we've not seen in any of our lifetimes, and it is going to have dramatic effect.
There are two follow-ups I want on that. One is, you're in a state, it elected you governor, but you represented a district that actually voted for President Trump in 2016 that had a lot of Republicans when you were in Congress. You've spent a lot of time talking to folks in Minnesota, and again, there's, it's not quite a swing state, but it's close enough. Have you ever encountered in the wild, I mean, really, just like out of the mouth of someone at a doorstep or a diner, like, I hate those Canadians who are ripping us off. We got to get back at them. Have you ever, I'm asking this. Have you ever,
no,
independent of President Trump, encountered that view in the wild?
Never. And I think, it could be
that's the thing too. I really like that question from him because where I live in a very red state, in a very small town, surrounded by conservatives. Like, you would have to, kind of find someone left-leaning out here, or at least openly left-leaning, is like finding a needle in a haystack. It's not an easy thing to do. A lot of people here are very open about their conservative takes. They'll, put a Trump flag on their truck or have a dozen signs on their lawns, shit like that. It's like that sort of stuff, very deep country, very red. Even those people, if I work with a bunch of them too in my job, and they don't talk about this shit because they know it's not good. They're not that favorable to it. I think even they recognize what comes from this. Like, I don't understand the people who try to try to combat the bad publicity this is getting, because it's like so obviously bad to anyone with like a semi-working brain, and the shit that's going to really but at the end of the day, there's going to be people who are going to ride or die for Trump, even if they're heavily affected by this, even if it ruins their life. But at the end of the day, I still feel like everyone realized how bad this is going to be. So like, it's just a disaster. But I want to get to more of the Elon stuff.
You had this. You were in Wisconsin ahead of this race. Susan Crawford, who was sort of endorsed by progressive center-left Democratic Party. It's a nonpartisan race, but she won by 10 points against the Trump-backed candidate. You said that to give you a little boost, you'd put the Apple ticker with the Tesla stock on your phone. And this really, Elon Musk got very upset about this.
I saw that clip. It was a pretty fun clip. It was a little bit of a weird clip. It kind of looked like Tim Walz was doing stand-up, but I don't know. Like, Tim Walz is one of those guys where he's like very like, lib-coded. But I like him because he just is very charismatic, and it's why I'm so upset. It's one of the big reasons why I was so upset with like the Harris campaign. Especially with what she said recently. Like, Harris came out recently and was just like, I told you this was going to happen. We warned you, but you still voted for him. It's like, yeah, because you ran a dog shit campaign. Like, you ran a campaign that was just like, hey, at least we're not the other guy, and didn't do anything else. So, like, just shut the fuck up. Like, you ran a terrible campaign, and you can't accept that fact. But Tim Walz has, like, been trying to distance himself, and I feel like has been more so trying to go after the right, even more so than her, but that doesn't say much. But, I like his charisma. I hope he plays a bigger role next time. I hope he runs, because I feel like, when he's not when he's not confined by the Biden-Harris campaign, hopefully he can, be perceived better by the public, because he is pretty charismatic. He does have pretty good opinions on politics, but we'll just have to wait and see.
Genuinely,
but yeah, apparently Elon Musk was crying about what he said about him.
Emotional in an interview about this. I want to just play. He just really got in his feelings about this. I want to play this for you and get your.
You had Tim Walz, who's a huge jerk, running around on stage with a Tesla stock price, where the stock price had gone in half, and he was overjoyed. What an evil thing to do! What a creep! What a jerk! Like, who derives joy from that?
Any sane person? Because like, why should anyone give a fuck? Like, why should anyone be like emotionally invested into Tesla stock price? Like, the only person it harms is one person, you, and you're a terrible person.
Are you a creep and a jerk?
Well, that's a badge of honor if he thinks I am. Look, it's not personal with him. Oh, it's a little bit personal. I don't want to be disingenuous. The guy does bother me. It's a little bit personal. But look, my beef on this is that this guy.
Oh my God, yeah, he even wore a cheese hat at his rally.
Crying about his portfolio and about stock while I'm making, a comment. And my mom's Social Security check this month is late. That he's attacking the portfolios of work.
Yeah, I would say you're a bigger jerk if you are literally trying to go after like Social Security, people's 401k, shit like that. When you are literally attacking, the livelihood of everyday Americans, like tearing down systems that actually help everyday Americans. Like, you're probably a bigger jerk for that than just pointing out that your Tesla stock is going down.
Working Minnesotans and working Americans who've paid into these programs that he
like making the government that was already flawed in the way that it operated, and breaking it to the point, breaking the system in ways that it like deeply affects everyday people. Like, it's not little stuff either. Like, they cut funding for cancer research. That's what they did with Doge. They tried to do it under the lens of like, oh, we're getting rid of DEI. We're We're getting rid of the woke.
He's taking it and laughing with his chainsaw about destroying the lives and undermining things and institutions that make life better for Minnesotans.
I am become meme.
I am become meme. Yeah, pretty much.
Like, he's ever since he has really like risen in power with like the Trump victory and being his like right hand man, or trying to be, everything has just gotten so much worse. Like, talking about politics is just like cringy now, because he always inserts himself into everything, so you always have to talk about him when you're talking about like what's going on with the Trump administration. He's just like so terrible. He's not enjoyable to watch. He tries to be charismatic but fails ultimately. So it's so weird also how he just has like a fan base of people kind of like him anyway. So maybe that's why, like, maybe that's why he's so popular, is because like there's just a bunch of other, you know, weirdos who are like him, who are just like, yeah, we relate to how like uncharismatic this man is. Like, I don't understand how he has a cult following. I really don't.
He doesn't care about these agencies because he has all this money. Can you imagine being the richest
Yeah, it
man
doesn't affect him.
the world and taking offense that I said something about Tesla stock? Look, if I'm Donald Trump won Wisconsin. I'll give him that. But he's sharing his presidency and the White House and who knows what else with this guy who's a loser. He lost. This guy's really bad at this.
Yep.
He made the case that everything hinged on this. And I just want to give a shout out to the folks in Wisconsin, to Ben Wickler, to, of course, Justice-elect Crawford, and to the people of Wisconsin who you said this right, Chris. This was a referendum on, does democracy stand, or does oligarchy and a king make the difference? And this was a referendum on Elon Musk, and by extension by Donald Trump. A 10-point win in Wisconsin is an absolute massacre. Remember, this was a 1-point race in November. So I am angry with this guy. I'm glad he's irritated with me. He's a bully. He's picking on people that can't speak up. He's undermining the basic tenets of this country, all so that he can, an unelected oligarch, run things. It's outrageous. And look, if Donald Trump wants to continue to hang around with him, I certainly think the DNC should think about hiring Elon Musk and send him to every race that we're in, because we will win. We will win.
Well, today we got this news, right?
I don't think he's going to stick around. I think Trump, I think what he said is very accurate. He's a loser, and Trump doesn't like to be around losers. He wants to seem like a winner. And when Elon Musk is facing when Elon Musk is so unpopular with the American public, when he comes off as such an uncharismatic weirdo that he is ruining elections for them, like, they're not going to want to keep him around. They're not going to want him to be a part of their elections. If he tries to go there, the Republicans are just going to be like, go away. We don't want you here. Especially if he doesn't have the backing of Trump, who's probably going to try to distance himself from him. Which I feel like he's definitely doing, not by saying anything bad about Elon openly, but he doesn't seem to be mentioning him as much anymore. Like with his Liberation Day speech, I don't believe he really even mentioned Elon at all. I think he's going to try to distance himself. I think he's like already starting to do that. And, maybe they're just trying to keep a lot of stuff internal in terms of trying to get him out of there. But I feel like, especially with the tariff situation going on right now, I don't think there's a lot of pressure on them continuing that. So who knows? He could stick around for how long he was originally supposed to, but I think his power is going to be greatly diminished. Or they're just going to try to silently kick him out. They're just going to silently push him out of the administration, as well as all of his fucking gooner interns or whatever. But that's where we're kind of at with Elon. It was a partnership that I'm honestly surprised went for as long as it did, because Elon and Trump are just two big egos that, you don't think would have coexist for this long. I feel like this partnership would have imploded way sooner. I feel like it would have. There is also a downside to him leaving, because it makes the Republican Party look not as bad as it used to, because Elon was a great source to go to show how terrible the Republican Party was operating, ever since he has very much attached himself to the party with the Trump campaign, with the election. But now, with him seemingly being kicked off to the curb, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe people will be more so focused on a lot of the other parts of the administration, but it's not like a go-to easy attack anymore. It's not like a very clear, gleaming, weakness that the administration had that like even the public could see very well. Because with him gone, I don't think they have that figure that they could just point to, that both the left and the right could look at as like an obviously bad person, like an obviously bad guy that they could attack. Because again, it's not just Democrats who don't like Elon. Elon also comes off like weird and creepy to even Republicans. It's a big reason why they lost this Wisconsin election, is because some Republicans just didn't even want to vote because of Elon's involvement. It came off weird, it came off creepy, and they just don't want it. Maybe if he would have went to Florida, this would have been, a different outcome, because that's like a very, red state in of itself. So even with his involvement, it probably wouldn't have changed much. But like with Wisconsin, with like a 50-50 chance either way, like with what Tim Walz said, this was only supposed to be a 1-point difference, and it turned into a 10-point difference because of his involvement. It was a blowout when it shouldn't have been because of his involvement. That's not a good look for him. It's definitely a indicator of how the public looks at him. I feel like with him gone, you're not going to have that clear signal to where you could point to for even Republicans of being like, look at this loser, look at this obviously bad person who is trying to make your life worse. Because you can't do that with Trump, because Trump has a cult following. Even with this like tariff situation, I don't think we're going to see a lot of Republicans turn on him. So who knows? Who knows where this goes? I'm also kind of happy if he leaves, because like he's just gross. He's just a creep. I hate that he tries to infuse himself into the media sphere as much as he does. But even if he goes, he's still always going to try to force himself in there. But who knows? I feel like with the tide drastically changing against him, and this just being a sign of that he might stop trying to force it, or he'll just go away for a period of time until he can try to make himself look good publicly again. But I don't think that's ever going to happen. But it's a weird thing. It's a weird time. Shit only looks to get worse anyways, so we might as well have a small victory of him just like not being a big part of the administration. Hello everyone, thank you for watching today's video. If you would like to see more videos like this, please leave a like and subscribe down below. If you would like to check out my gaming videos, you can follow me at FruitySaur Gaming. And if you'd like to check out my podcast where I talk about anime, comics, movies, video games, and even pro wrestling, you can follow me at The Fruit Basket. But that's all I had to say for today. I'd like to thank you all for watching once again, and I will see you